All right, construction champions, it's your host, Ron Duesbaum, and we're here for another episode of Construction Champions Podcast where we're burning down the house every week, twice a week. We're doing it for you. We're doing it for your company, your family, your employees, and everybody around you. Being a construction champion is what matters in 2024, and I'm here to bring it in. I'm here to rally around everybody, bring on the amazing guests that are going to take us where we need to go in 2024. And I have another one here today. Adam, it is great to have you on the show.
Ron, love the energy. I'm going to mirror that for you, with you. Great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Awesome, man. Well, we're super excited to have you on today. Why don't you take some time, take a minute, however long you need, to tell the construction champions out there a little bit about yourself, what excites you, what got you here to today.
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I started my professional career working for a builder, owner, operator in New York City, building some high-rise mixed-use properties in the chaos that exists in such a city, right? And it took real quick for me to recognize how difficult it was to manage these projects without a system in place. And what I mean by that is something that can centralize communication, collaboration, and accountability across stakeholders. So, it happened to be a pretty hands-on developer that I was working for, meaning I was on construction job sites every day, trying to make nice between the subs, the GC, myself as a developer, the lender, the design team, the expediters, the city, et cetera, et cetera. And doing so with a lack of system was nearly impossible, right, to get things perfected throughout the project. And what I mean by that is close to schedule and close to budget as much as possible. And that's kind of what initiated the concept of Jet.Build, which is my company now, software that supports the end-to-end management of construction and development, that supports also all stakeholder accountability, communication, collaboration, and data in one place.
Awesome, man. Sounded a lot of moving pieces to that there.
A lot of moving pieces.
So I'm excited to talk today. I think you have some great insights on the industry and everything as a whole. We've talked before, but I'm going to dive right in there. I'm going to ask the million-dollar question, and that is, what makes a construction champion?
I think it's the two words that I just repeated probably more than I should have, which is communication and collaboration. It's really interesting when we have that kind of finger pointing element in our industry, whereas that communication and collaboration, it has to happen in order for a project to succeed, for it to progress. So to me, those are the key components that need to go smoothly.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. I mean,
oh yeah,
100. I mean, I believe those are two elephant in the room.
Yeah.
For the construction industry. Like, communication is an elephant in the room we have to address. If we're ever going to become what we need to be, it has to be addressed. And then collaboration has to be addressed. Like, there's
Absolutely.
plenty of room for all of us to work together. See, I do communication, you do communication. Like, some people could be like, what are you guys even in the same room talking about? Well, shit. Like, it's about making a solution that works for everybody out there. Like, what you do and what I do isn't necessarily going to be the right fit for everybody, but it's about coming together and making sure that the construction industry is getting the solutions it needs, instead of just saying, this is what I do and no one else should be around. Like, collaboration, the construction industry needs. The days of closed doors and not having, like, that's in the past. That's one of the things that used to aggravate me the most about just working in the industry. It was like, this is all secrets. Don't be telling anybody. That we're not going to be talking about how we do it here at all. And I was like, that's bullshit. That's not how it should be.
100% with you. And as we're talking about, as you're bringing up past and what should be moving forward in the future. I also want to highlight something that we got to just end 2024 onward, which is this concept that seemingly has been ingrained, I think maybe for fair reason in the past, but this concept of non-tech savvy. I can't use that tech. I don't know how to use that tech. I won't use that tech. Come on, guys, 2024. It's time that we inform our industry of simplified processes, simple technology to bridge that gap with the guys that and gals that aren't necessarily familiar with technology or not necessarily accustomed to it or willing to adopt. Show them and inform them that there are simplified ways of using it that will help them, that will help the project, that will help everyone's business perspective, and probably personal perspectives, right? If you come off your day, your work day, your work week, and you had an easy flowing communication, collaboration with your teams, you're going to be feeling better than the alternative.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, when you talk about running like bigger project, like you come from kind of a different, I come from the residential, like
Mm-hmm.
that side of things. You come from kind of a different angle of that. But
Yeah,
like I can't even imagine running some of these like I think back like 10, 15 years ago, and like how did these jobs like, but there's still people that do it that way today. Like
yeah.
it's like 10, 15 years ago, same way, same results, I guess. But it blows my mind how far the industry's come, but still how far it needs to go.
Absolutely. And in terms of that, how far it needs to go element, AI comes up in conversations every day for every industry right now, right? Because it is kind of this forefront of what is going to be next as it relates with tech. Yeah. So when we look at construction, obviously, because this is what we're here to talk about, how do you plan? How do you kind of forecast for that AI feature? So even if you don't believe it's today, it's tomorrow, it's in 5 years from now, well, if you don't start building toward that, then you won't be in the right spot when it becomes relevant. And what I mean by that is collection of properly indexed data, right? So you're not going to do that with handwritten notes. You're not going to do that with siloed Excel files and SharePoints and Dropbox. If you're not using a central system, then you won't be ready for AI once it becomes relevant for you. So you can ignore that for today, for tomorrow, but eventually it's gonna hit you in the face if you continue to ignore it.
Well, it's amazing. Like we have throughout our lifetimes, like you go through these ebb and flows of like something that is a hot item. AI just happened. Like it's one of those like, so anytime anybody wants to talk about software, a lot of times they're like, well, what's your AI incorporation? And you'll be talking to somebody that doesn't even like have the foundation to start doing
Right.
anything with software, and they're immediately wanting to run with like what's the AI component, because that's the hot thing, like that's what
Yeah.
everybody's talking about. But they don't people don't understand, like you can't take a Yugo, and I mean you can take a Yugo and put a Lamborghini motor in it. It's not going to work out very well. I mean, it's
Be a
doable,
silly
but like
move.
that, there's a process here, like to be to where you start having the AI, you have those integrations, you start to be able to do that stuff. Like to your point, like this shit doesn't happen overnight. It's not just like you wake up and all of a sudden all your notes right here are automatically AI is doing crazy shit with them.
Exactly. And, to kind of level that and I don't know, just help people wrap their heads around, AI and data. Forget about, robots building your property and just focus on data itself, right? How are you collecting data from as many sources as you possibly can? And how is that being indexed in a proper method so that when the time is right, when it's simple enough, when you're, ready, when you're, have the financial capacity, whatever the reason is, right? When that time comes, that you're able to actually leverage that data for AI and ML machine learning to do its thing, right? So that's
Mhm.
kind of what I like to bring focus to, and let robots and real future kind of tech be the future, but be prepared for that, right? When it comes, if it comes, right? Nonetheless, the data will support you as it relates to simple predictive analytics, right? Let's say you got 5 years of project data, in your ecosystem, right, and your servers, and you want to click 3 buttons for your computer systems to tell you, all right, based on 5 years of projects, XYZ went wrong. Perhaps take a look at that as you're moving forward, as you're actively building. So those are the kind of dynamics that I like to, inform our industry of, that is readily available to you once you start collecting information properly.
Yeah, no, let's dive into that because I think there is a lot of like we talk about gathering data, having this technology, like having this stuff. And I love what you're talking about when you talk about preparing because
Mhm.
that's that foundation. We always talk about like you want to make sure you're not just jumping into something without having the appropriate foundation because then it's meant to fail at that point in time. So how do we as an industry, or not even as an industry, just as individuals running companies, start to prepare on what it's called, like it's data, but like what I guess what's a better layman's term to use for people when we speak of data, what exactly is that information and how should they be preparing it?
Absolutely. So, I mean, I think of, what are your day-to-day tasks? What are the day-to-day things you're looking at? That could be, your schedule. That could be your RFIs and submittals. That could be your specifications, your budget, your contracts, right? So just really basic functions that you're going to, I mean, for the foreseeable future, be looking at on a daily basis in order to manage your projects, manage your teams, et cetera, right? So how are you taking that data and collecting it in a means that at some point in the future, what I mean when I say future, that you could be doing this today already if you already collected enough, but let's say, near future, far future, whatever, how are you collecting this information that you're using day to day to leverage it in a smarter methodology? What I mean by smarter methodology is what I touched on before, to give you insights, reporting, analytics, predictive insights on how you can build more efficiently, how you can save time, how you can reduce waste, how you can, just alert yourself of upcoming errors rather than, that concept, to wrap that concept up. I think of how, back in my day when I started in the industry, everything was so reactive, right? So how do we shift from being so reactive to issues and be, proactive, right? Or simply, fix things as they're about to happen rather than after they happen. So that's kind of thought process, headspace that I'm trying to inform industry of, and shift the way that we operate.
Yeah, start moving. So what I guess I only ask this question because I get this question.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on like putting in, say you have all this data, is it either
Yeah.
spreadsheets or Excel spreads, all this stuff, or just even like boxes for pads? Like I talk to people that have like I have the last 10 years of projects on yellow pads and boxes. What's your
Yeah.
thoughts on like putting that in the new software? Do you think like it should be a clean start when you start with software and going forward, or should you backload that? What are your thoughts on that?
I Great question. So first of all, if you have things on Excel, then that makes uploading pretty simple, generally speaking. I mean, you may lose some data points, you may have to shift, your columns and such, but it is relatively simple to get it onboarded into a software. If you have tons of information on pads, I mean that's a tough one, right? I mean, you could always upload it, but that's going to be a huge just time lift, of course, because it'll be very manual in terms of getting that in. Um, so also just to clarify, I don't mean to say you should never use pads. You can use pads to write down notes to remind yourself of how to log or what to log or what to follow up with on a software later in that day. I just don't think you should rely on pads exclusively.
Yeah, no, I would say you shouldn't at all. I don't. I think in
Right.
nowadays and age, like there's so much better stuff, and as you
Yeah,
grow a business, like it's the only way to continue to track stuff. Like and
correct. Yeah.
have that data because if everybody has their own pads or their own like if nothing's going into something that's centrally located for the
Yeah,
company, like nobody really knows what exactly Johnny's saying to Mary or Sam's
exactly.
saying to Ken.
On that point to kind of take a step back from this, overarching data element, I want to touch on what you just said in terms of if you have your teams writing things down or noting things in Excel in their siloed environments, either way, right? Siloed, regardless if it's handwriting or if it's Excel files, then what happens if, I don't know, they get sick, they go on vacation, and maternity leave, they move to another country, whatever it may be, they're not on the project, right? Long story short there. How are you managing that? What happens? How do you pick up where they left off? How do you even know where they left off, right? You don't, and you can't. So in centralizing information, not only does it support this kind of future thought of data and AI and such, but it also just literally helps you immediately. And it gives you kind of a defense mechanism in terms of protecting your projects in case something happens to someone or somebody, just moves or leaves, whatever.
Hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. Or like I always say, like if something happens and that employee leaves and you're in a conflict with that homeowner, you're only getting that homeowner's what they want you to know that conversation was like. That's
Brutal.
not going to pan out well. So as
No.
as guys get this foundation and stuff set up, like where do you see AI going with this
Yeah.
in the future here?
Absolutely. So, part of what initiated, my creation of Jet.Build was recognizing, first of all, before spending, all of mine and my co-founder, my partner's free time, right, building out a system, we first, of course, went to look to market to see what, existed and what we can leverage immediately to support our efforts. And what happened was, we came across these legacy products, which is pretty typical to any industry, right? A legacy product is going to cost a legacy, cost, right? It's going to a lot of money. So we weren't able to adopt those products. Now, fast forward a bunch, recognizing that if you're implementing a core technology solution, right, a core management solution for your projects, if that solution is going to exceed your budget already or breach your budget as it relates to technology, how are you ever going to innovate, right? How are you ever going to look to niche products like, to also answer your question in terms of, where I see the future, drones for safety or for just general reporting, sensors for reduction in waste for things like concrete, for example, right? AI for things like safety, right? How are you ever going to adopt these additional technologies if your core product is crazy expensive? I mean, you're not, right? Expensive and confusing. So what I right, so what I see is industry needs help with a refresh in its core product, its core value proposition. Simplify the core solution. And I like to make the analogy with a smartphone, right? Imagine your smartphone. I actually made a post about this. It was really funny. If you look up the first cell phone, it was, I mean, obviously a huge block of a piece of plastic, right? Crazy expensive, unbelievable cost point. Well, it's what we're seeing now, right? The evolution of that, right? So technology today is less expensive, it's simpler to use, it's more intuitive, and it's intuitive in the sense that we now understand better how people operate, right? So if you establish your core tech stack with an intuitive, cost-effective solution, all of a sudden, not only should you expect more use out of that product, but now you could also expect to adopt additional technology, plug that in, and have a proper tech stack, right? Have a proper layered solution of technology on your construction site. And full circle with that long-winded answer is I saw a video recently of Boston Dynamics come to mind. There's a few other companies involved of these robots that were just maneuvering materials on a pretend makeup job site, and it was crazy stuff. So what I can see happening with that kind of like robot dynamic is support in moving heavy equipment or equipment generally speaking to site operators, and I think that's a pretty cool thought process to look for.
Yeah, no, I've seen some of those videos too, and they're crazy.
Wild. Yeah.
I mean, there's crazy stuff in the pipeline. I don't
Yeah.
like I don't as the industry continues to grow and adapt to this stuff, which I believe is happening, I think
Hmm.
I think one of the hardest things we have to overcome is this jaded perspective. I think we had
Right.
not just the legacy guys that came in, but we had a lot of people that moved. They saw an industry that didn't utilize technology and they were quick to move solutions into the construction industry that weren't for the construction industry.
Hmm.
And guys jumped on it because like we all, I think as a whole, the construction, we're fixers. We're like I say, there's a reason why everybody has all the brand new tours. It's not because we're not early adapters of stuff. Like guys like new stuff that
Hmm.
make them better and make it just we like core stuff.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
technology is one of those, but what ended up happening was we had all this stuff, this shift of where people thought this was a big market share they could move into. They came with solutions that weren't built for the industry, and it jaded those people.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
one of the things we fight the most when we talk about adaptation, but it's also the same reason why you're here, guys that don't utilize a lot of technology get excited about the possibility of using AI because they're like, oh, that's new, cool, that's sexy. Like, how do I get that in my business? But like, they're jaded over here when it comes to like the foundation that you have to
Yeah.
utilize that software.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I also have to always throw some respect to just the nature of our industry, right? I mean, you have so many different companies that are in need of collaborating on a single, project with so much logistics, manual labor, safety elements. So it's incredibly complex, right? I mean, it's not a bunch of people sitting in an office and sending emails to one another. So, always have to throw that respect there. And in addition to that point, also have to respect the fact that, everything that our industry is building and doing is everything that we are, using day to day, all day, right? Whether that be your place of living, your place of work, your place of socializing, etc.
Awesome, man. I love it. I love what you're out there doing. I think communication and collaboration, like that should be the bar to be a champion. And I love
Absolutely.
that. I love our conversation here today. So for all the construction champions out there, if they wanted to find you, follow you, look at what you do, where's the best places for them to do that?
Absolutely. So I'm real active on LinkedIn, just pushing, good thought on a daily basis. You could find me, Adam Stark. You could find our website, Jet.Build. So it's not, .build instead of .com. So Jet.Build, easy as that. You'll find us in those channels.
Awesome. So Jet.Build, there's no .com, right?
Correct.
Okay, I like that. No, that's
Yeah.
I like that, but I can see how that could possibly be confusing. So for all the champions out there,
Yeah,
Jet.Build, nothing else. So hey,
exactly.
Adam, it has been fantastic having you on the show today. Thank you.
Thanks for having me, Ron. Really appreciate it.
All right, construction champions, that's a wrap on another episode. And I come away with one question is, are you prepared for AI? Like it's coming in the construction industry. That's going to be the beginning of some of the technologies coming down the pipeline. But are you ready as we continue to grow and evolve as an industry? Are you ready? Like what are you doing to be proactive? Because this stuff is also going to shrink the industry some as well as people become more efficient by utilizing new softwares. You want to be prepared. One of the biggest things that I took away from Paris Island when I became a Marine was I had a staff sergeant that every day he would just run around screaming the 7 P's. And the 7 P's are proper prior planning prevents piss poor performance. And right now we have an opportunity to put that in our operations as we grow out that tech stack. What works for us, what works for others, what works for the industry. That stuff's all going to be different. You have to go out there and figure out what exactly works for you and your company and where you're headed and start laying that foundation today. So construction champions, Make sure you join our Construction Champions Mastermind Facebook group. It's completely free. All it is there to connect guests and listeners. It's all we want to do is bring everybody together. Check out our new revamped website and make sure you check out all of our sponsors. And remember, until next time, be the champion you were meant to be. Hey, construction champions, it's your host, Ron Nussbaum here, and I want to talk to you about how you can automate all of your marketing. We've had so many people on here talk about getting the systems in place. Well, we have partnered with Build 12 and Construction Champions podcast. Les O'Hara, the founder, what really excites me is his 30 years in the industry. And now he's built a system to be able to nurture your leads and continue to utilize that. I personally use the system myself. Build 12 is absolutely amazing. There's a lot of value in there, and it's a way to start getting away from Angie's List and all of that kind of stuff and start actually creating your own leads every day and have a system for them. So go on our website, check out the show notes, go check out Build 12 and what it can do for the front end of your business today. It's absolutely amazing. I highly recommend going and meeting with Les and his son, Devin, and talking to him about what they built for their own business so the rest of the industry can take benefit from that. Here on Construction Champions, we're all about helping each other out. And what is better than contractors helping contractors? I say nothing. So let's go take this to the next level. Go check out Build 12. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me or Les or his son, Devin. We're here to help. We want to continue to grow the industry.